Guy and Toei is the mother of Kanbaru, the sister of Guyan, and is a perfect foil for Araragi, who we don't technically meet till Izuko owarimonogatari, and so this is who we shall discuss today. If you find yourself entertained at any point during the video, then consider liking, subscribing and ringing that bell, as I can't explain to you how much just a small action can do for this channel. And if you want to support this channel even further, then perhaps check out my Patreon. Anyway, on with the video. The name Guy and Toei is one dipped in the beauty of geography, as well the Suruga province, Izu province, and Tooe province, which FYI has the same spelling as Toei, were all provinces that surrounded the Suruga Bay. Now the Ga in a family named Guyan means to lie down and is part of the word Ga-ryu, which translates to unrecognised genius or an exceptional person hidden among the masses. As well, Toei is a genius when it comes to oddity issues, but those issues being oddity issues are obviously not well known. And further to this, the N in Guyan means smoke, something else that hides things from sight. Her given name Tooe means distant creek. This is most likely in reference to her daughter Kanbaru, since Suruga means river. A distant creek then would be a dead creek, with distant being used because she is dead and so out of reach, and the river ties her to Kanbaru, so her name overall means dead and out of reach of her daughter. And well, if you take the kanji to from her name and replace the walk radical with a dog radical, you end up with saru, which means monkey, tying her into not just her daughter, but the monkey paw also, which as we all know is the remains of the rainy devil, an oddity created by Toei which acts as a Jungian shadow. Guy and Toei is a character who only ever appears twice in the entire series. Her first appearance is as a ghostly voice to Kanbaru in Hana Monogatari, and then in full naked body glory in the mirror world of Zoko owarimonogatari. Now obviously the Toei who speaks to Kanbaru isn't the real Toei, as she is long dead, or you could say she's a distant creek. Her shadow, the rainy devil, looms over Kanbaru, but she herself is out of reach. However, this scene clearly shows that even if she is dead, her ideals and the lessons she learned were not, something explored through her meeting with Araragi. Now, we never get a clear picture of Toei's past. All we have to go on is the description she gives to Araragi and the reference we hear about it by her younger sister Izuko. Guy and Toei was the oldest daughter of the Guyan family, a family that specialises in monster creation, more specifically in confronting their shadows. A Jungian shadow is the idea that everyone has a hidden side, their shadow, a side of them that is unconscious, that they do not realise exists. It is your emotional blind spot and so often is the parts of you that you don't want to acknowledge or accept. And from what Toei says, the Guyans have no choice in life than to face their shadow, whether in a literal or a metaphorical sense. For Toei this was literal, and so she created an oddity that embodied her Jungian shadow, in the same way Araragi created Ogi. However, while Araragi chose to save his shadow Ogi and to accept all sides of himself as him, Toei took a different approach. She bound her shadow with a name, the Rainy Devil, and then killed it. She chose not to accept her shadow but destroy it. She didn't accept her weakness, she crushed it. Her approach was exactly the one Izuko had told Araragi to use to resolve the issue of Oshino Ogi, and while the reason she suggested it was because that's what her own sister did. However, as Toei makes clear, her decision wasn't right and it wasn't wrong, it was just a decision. Only you can save yourself, and so only you can choose how you confront yourself. She tells Araragi to stick with his decision because they were the ones he chose to make, just like how she cannot regret killing her own shadow since it was a choice she made herself. Whereas Ogi criticised Araragi to make him realise and address his own issues, Toei's shadow attacked her. Possibly its goal was to force her to fight back, to make her either destroy the negative aspects of herself or accept them, but we will never know the details. As Toei says herself, your shadow is your other side, but it shouldn't become your opposing side. It's just a mirror that shows another side of you, a side that is just as much you as the side you know. You have to become complete by either embracing and understanding this other side, or by destroying it. They are two equally viable and equally correct responses. Toei wasn't wrong to kill the Rainy Devil, and Araragi was not wrong to save Ogi. Araragi came to understand his own flaws, his warped view of the world, his hero complex and his ignorance, and Toei came to understand that deep down she is just a crybaby. Araragi gave up his catchphrase by saving Ogi, friends only lower my intensity as a human, and at least in my opinion, Toei gave up hers when she killed the devil. If you can't become medicine, become poison, otherwise you are just plain old water. Toei's catchphrase is very interesting in how it is framed throughout the series. At no point is it called out as wrong, but I believe it very much is. There are three main characters who are influenced by these words: Guy and Izuko, Kanbaru Suruga, and of course Guy and Toei. Izuku looked up to her sister a lot. She was the one person the God Among specialists praised. She idolised her sister and so saw everything she did as correct. She took every word her sister said as gospel, and so that included her catchphrase. This is why I believe Izuko became the ultra competent specialist, because she wouldn't settle as just plain old water, she would become medicine, she would become extraordinary. This phrase then is what moulded Izuko into the person she became, and maybe why she fails where her three Kohai succeed, because she knows everything but understands nothing. She didn't learn from her sister's mistakes as she saw her as faultless, as because I will soon explain, I think that Toei's catchphrase was wrong, and was one Toei herself came to resent. But if you want to know more about that in relation to Izuko's character, then check out my dedicated analysis video on her. Kanbaru, as the daughter of Tooe, was filled with lessons of becoming extraordinary up until her mother passed. This may be why she wanted to be the fastest, because she had been drilled not to be normal but to be extraordinary. Tooe imparted these views on her daughter, even if, as she later says, such words were aimed at herself. Tooe told Kanbaru to become poison if you could not become medicine, something literally shown when she turns to violence when she can't be the fastest. She couldn't be the fastest, she couldn't be Senjikara's lover, she couldn't be medicine, so instead with the monkey paw she hurt her classmate, hurt Aragi, and became poison. Her mother gave her the devil's arm to give her a choice, and in the end she settles much like her mother to just be water, but again this is something I discussed more in depth in Kanbaru's character analysis video. But back to the namesake of this video, why do I say that Tooe threw aside this catchphrase of hers when the series never says so? Well, I think if we read between the lines we come to such a conclusion. Tooe, as said by Aragi, is not what he expected. She didn't match the way Izuko described her. And well, although part of this is due to the sister idolising eyes of Izuko, I think she did indeed change. As Tooe herself says, she changed after marrying. The one thing she would tell Kanbaru is not to become like her, and the thing she admits to Aragi is that all those words about medicine, poison and water were really aimed at herself. She calls herself a weakling, one who could only think to kill the devil inside her. She couldn't be medicine and she killed the poison inside her, and so was left as just water. Maybe this phrase of hers was just self-criticism, criticism of the way she handled her shadow, and necessity now her shadow was gone. She lost her poison and never was medicine, so all she was left as was plain old water. However, she seems to be okay with that. That is what she came to understand. Water represents life, it's necessary to live, it is everywhere, but it is ordinary. Still, water persists. She carried on living her life until she died as just water, but she seemed content with it. She doesn't want Kanbaru to end up like her, because she didn't want her to fall down the same trap as her. To believe that you have to make something of yourself, be it as medicine or poison. You just need to live life, whether it's mundane or not. Or another way to look at it is that her shadow wasn't just her poison, but both the medicine and the poison of her life. The aspect of her that the shadow could have embodied was her desire to be extraordinary, to make something of herself, to be either medicine or poison, but not water. She threw aside this notion that her life had to be something when she killed the shadow inside her, when she cast aside this perceived flaw of her. And this then is only backed up by how she says the rainy devil is not medicine or poison, that it is just a corpse, as in this allegory the devil is plain old water, not medicine or poison, since those were cut off from Tooe when she killed the devil. And well, if either of these interpretations of mine hold even a shred of truth, they explain something quite profound. Tooe did come to understand herself and her other side in exactly the same way as Aragi, it just took a bit more time and reflection on her part. What is the point of Toei's character though? Beyond being the one to give Kanbaru the monkey's paw, what else does she add to the story, and why does she appear in Zoku owarimonogatari just to tell Aragi about something he has already resolved? Well, that's all quite simple, as what is the point of Zoku owarimonogatari? It is Aragi putting into practice the lesson he learned in owarimonogatari. It is him coming to address the flaws he was shown by Ogi. It's a story about him looking at things clearly and understanding the things he didn't look at before. Every character in the mirror world reflects an aspect of their character that Aragi either didn't notice or chose not to look at. These mirror versions of the characters are not all that dissimilar to shadows in their own right. Tooe then represents another side of Aragi. Almost specifically, she is what Aragi could have become. She is what he would be if he chose to kill Ogi rather than save her. But notice how she isn't framed as being wrong for this. Because Aragi's choice, as I keep stressing, wasn't right or wrong, it was just the choice he chose to make. As at the end of the day, we are all just us. Even Ogis and rainy devils are just a part of ourselves. We can choose to be medicine, we can choose to be poison, we can choose to save our shadows, we can choose to destroy them, or we can simply choose to be plain old water. Comment of the week comes from QRS85, and yes, people do die when they are killed. If you are interested in my literary endeavours, then why not check out my books Gang, Fluid Justice and People of Fate Volume 1, available at Amazon.com. And if you want to go the extra mile in supporting this channel, then consider pledging to my Patreon, where for as little as £2.75 a month, you can get your name at the end of the video, like Hikari Desu, 7SO, Rinjak9696 and Dewey. So with all that said and done, I've been Seth the Sin, the Deadly Sin of Geek, and I'm signing out. Stay safe, everyone.